At 27 years old, I met my birth uncle. I flew from Tampa to South Carolina to meet with him about a month later, and he actually told me how I came to be, which I did not know. And the story is that there were 6 kids, so he's one of 6. They their parents died at an early age, and they were all thrown into orphanages. All of them, except for him, are mentally handicapped, including my mom. So my mom only functioned as an 11-year-old mental capacity. So when she aged out of the system, she actually became a ward of the state of Georgia and was placed into a mental facility. And while she was there, she was actually raped by 5 men. We don't believe it was staff. It was outside of the facility. But she gets pregnant with me. But here's the thing. She's 18 outwardly, but she's only 11 mentally. So does she even know what happened to her, the trauma from that? She definitely didn't want to tell anybody. So it was some time had went by before the facility realized that she was pregnant. But when they found out, this is a state-ran facility. She has no resources, no job, no family. They were pressuring her every day to abort her baby, right? Because, again, statistically, she didn't have the resources. She couldn't care for me. But this woman that I call my hero, she valued life enough, even with only an 11-year-old mental capacity, to fight for me. So those questions, for years that I had, why, did she really love me or care for me? She fought for me, and she carried me homeless, ran away from this facility literally on her own and fought for her baby. So for the duration of the pregnancy, she's on the streets, and by the end, she's 9 months pregnant, living in a cardboard box behind an old grocery store in this little country town. It's in Tennessee, called Whitwell. If you're from there, they say Whitwell. But guess what family lived there? Only the grace of God, right? The Holland family that had 4 kids, Ricky, Rod, Renee, and Robin, and they were longing for one more baby boy. And God placed her in that town behind that store in that box. And this 16-year-old boy was skipping school one day, up to no good. He saw the box move, pulls the box back. Here's my mom, pregnant with me, 9 months pregnant. He loads her up, walks her home to his family. So this is a 16-year-old boy, 18-year-old, 9-month pregnant girl, walks in the front door and says, "Hey, Mom and Dad, look what I found. Can we keep her?" So can you imagine, your 16-year-old son walking in with an 18-year-old pregnant woman? But they said yes, and they cared for us for 2 weeks until she gave birth to me in the hospital. And everybody wants to know, Steventhen, where does that name come from? She gave it to me. She said, "I want to name him Stephen, then William." So William is my middle name, and whoever heard audibly her speak the first name, they put Stephen then together. So it's Steventhen. So I find all this out at 27 in my uncle's living room. But the story's not over yet. Then he looks at me, and it kind of gets awkward and silent. And he says, "I want to tell you something." He's like, "Your mom's alive, and she's 5 hours south of where we sit right now." And he asked me this question. He said, "Do you want to meet her?" And what the Spirit of God had spoken to me was, a couple months before that, it's time. So we jumped in the car the next day. I wanted to go right then and there, but it was at night. And we drove 5 hours down to this mental facility that she was living in, kind of like a nursing home situation, men on one side, women on the other. We had this plan of interacting and meeting in her room, but God just kind of took over, and we had a video camera rolling. My uncle did a magic show for the residents to lighten, which was really hilarious because you had schizophrenics and they were nonverbal, and he's putting bottles through people's bodies, and I'm just saying it was weird, right? And they were freaking out, but it kind of lightened the mood. And there was a moment where my mom started singing a song, and so I'm a worship leader, singer, songwriter, and she gets done singing, and it didn't really make sense, in her 11-year-old mind. She's 46, but she's still 11 mentally. I just felt led to come sing Amazing Grace. And I started singing Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound that saved. And I lost it, started crying, because this woman that I'm looking at literally saved my life. And then she finishes the verse, every word perfect, on point, on key. And then my uncle has the honor of actually introducing us right there in that moment while the camera's rolling.